Recording here. So welcome to this June 16th sneak peek here. My name is Daniel Brisbane. I'm one of the instructors, mentors, and admissions guide here at Earth-Based Institute. So I wear a few different hats here, and I want to spend this time, not just sharing some upcoming things we have going on here at EBI, but I also have some nature connection practices and tools to share with you during this time for you to start to kind of get your feet in the water, so to speak, kind of get an idea of what we're about here and what we teach at Earth-Based Institute as well. And like I was saying, also would just love to hear, what questions do you have about Earth-Based Institute and what we offer? Because I'm pretty sure you guys can agree that if you say nature connected coaching or nature connected leadership, and you say that to somebody, they're probably gonna look at you like, what the heck is that? Like, I've never heard those words put together before. People don't talk about it a lot. So kind of giving some, painting the picture of, what is it that we do here at Earth-Based Institute? And is that in alignment with your calling and what you're really wanting in your life, and your vision? So let me just see here really quick. I just want to make sure I'm getting messages from people as well. They're trying to show up. So I just want to make sure everyone's good to go here. All right. Cool. So I wanted to start off by introducing myself a little bit here and kind of giving you a little bit of story of, who I am and where kind of my beginnings came from as a graduate of the Nature Connected Coaching Program here at Earth-Based Institute and a ICF certified coach. But I wasn't always, in this work. And about, 7 years ago now, I was in the world of construction, and I actually have a college degree in construction management and was working as a project manager for several years out here in Colorado. And sorry, I got to kind of multitask here, share my story while also letting people into the meeting here. I'm just gonna, okay, cool. But I was in construction management, and I remember going to work every day. I was making, good income, had a good career path, had lots of potential for growth in what I was doing and promotions and whatnot. But I had this internal feeling, I could almost say, this voice inside of myself. Every day I'd go to work saying, you're doing a good job, you're on a good path, but there's something else. There's something else out there for you. And at the time, I didn't know what that something else was, but I could tell that voice inside me would show up every day. It wasn't just like an impulsive, oh, I gotta find another job that's, more fulfilling or something like that. But it's like, no, this voice is coming back saying hey, this isn't bad or good what you're doing, but there's something more, and you need to figure that out. I'm not going to go away. I'm not going to be quiet until you do something about it. And I remember eventually, after a year, hearing this voice inside of me, feeling this pull towards something different and newer for myself, that I eventually quit my job, put my 2 weeks in at work, and saved up some money, because I was like, I'm about to quit my job here, but I'm not exactly sure what this next step is for me. But I know that in order to find out that is, I need to spend some time figuring it out and listening inside of myself to what is that calling for myself, not just what do I think I should be doing based on what the world expects of me, but what is that deep centered knowing inside of myself around my vision and the impact I want to have through my life. And so I quit my job, and shortly after that, I decided to sign up for a NOLS course. And if you don't know what NOLS is, it's NOLS, and it stands for National Outdoor Leadership School. And it's basically, they have chapters all around the world, and they basically take people out on expeditions in the wilderness for several weeks up to several months, in different exotic locations. And I signed up for it and was signed up to do a month-long winter leadership training course in the Grand Teton National Forest, which is just up the road, or not up the road, but in Wyoming above here in Colorado. And I signed up to do this training, and we're basically backcountry skiing with about a dozen guys and a few instructors for several weeks, making shelters out of snow, like snow igloos, and sleeping in them, and making base camps, out of the snow, because that's all we had around us. And we spent the whole time, away from the world, away from distractions, and just in nature, and going on, expeditions, navigating with, maps and compasses, how to, get from one destination to the next through these mountain ranges, in the Grand Tetons in the middle of winter, where it's like barely above freezing the whole time out there, and usually, much colder than that. And I started to realize that each day they had a new person be the leader for the day, where they, planned out what we're going to do, where we're going to go, how everyone in the group was going to have different roles and tasks and all these things. And we each had a turn to be that person to kind of like, hey, today's my day to be the leader. And I remember we each had a few days of being able to do that out on the land in nature, of being, the leader for the day. And I got to see all of the different guys in our group, be able to embody a leadership role. And at that time, I didn't have a whole lot of wilderness experience. I didn't know I had like many survival skills. I spend time in nature and love being in nature, but I didn't do anything of this magnitude beforehand. I didn't have that context or experience. I didn't know, backcountry skiing was a totally new concept to me. Like everything we're doing was completely new for me. But what I started to notice was the guys that stepped into a role of leadership weren't the ones with the most experience or knowledge. And they also weren't the ones that were the literally strongest guys in the group either. But what I started to see was that the greatest leaders were the ones that were able to compose themselves, that were able to listen and let go of their ego and start to put themselves out of the way so they could see how everyone works together in cohesion. And rather than thinking that they have to have all the answers, starting to see like, hey, how can I bring in members of my group to bring out their greatest skills and wisdom into this expedition or whatever we're doing. And like some of the guys that were the toughest in the group, at least, or that's the strongest and the, just the biggest guys, they didn't mean that they were the most amazing leaders. And some of them, didn't know how to handle their emotions and would, just lose their fuse, so to speak, out on the land. And, some of the guys with the most knowledge of, being the backcountry didn't know how to listen and communicate that well. And so I started to see that a leader isn't just about what you're able to do, but a great leader is about how you are being. And that through that experience, and when I was a leader for the day, I started to realize that what I did really well was that I let go of this idea that I had to have everything figured out. And rather than thinking that it's all on me, I started to see how can I let go of that story and be open, and I'm being in nature. And what does nature have to show me and teach me that I can really listen to and listen with as being a leader, and being a leader for myself and being a leader for others. And that in order to be a leader for others, I need to know how to be a leader for myself. I need to know how to be aware of how the mind and the emotions I'm experiencing. And rather than my mind and emotions dictating me, how can I start to be objectively aware to what I'm feeling so that I can really show up for the people in my life that are depending on me? And I remember doing that Knowles course and coming back and realizing that I really wanted to know what it means to be a leader for myself so that I can be a leader for others. and that leadership isn't just this maybe social construct that we see a lot of times of, the person that has the biggest energy and, fills up the room and, talks a lot, but rather the leader is a person who's able to listen on a deeper level than most people are able to themselves and others, and are able to let go of their ego and thinking that they have to have everything figured out so that they can show up fully and wholly. And that Knowles course was literally the stepping stone for me of being like, okay, there's something about being in nature. There's something about being a leader and leading from the inside out and embodying the way of a leader rather than doing the way of a leader that needs to happen first in order for us to thrive, for us to be completely free in what we're capable of as human beings. And that they're like, leaders aren't just naturally born people. Like, there's people out there that maybe are kind of just naturally able to be in a leadership role and have those skill sets. But the thing about it is, just like nature shows us, we're able to adapt, learn, and grow and become a leader for ourselves and others. And then every single person is capable of embodying the leadership skills and attributes and values and principles. And I remember that being a huge eye-opener for me. And then I signed up for the Nature Connected coaching program we have here at EBI shortly after that, because it's like, okay, I want to learn how to be that example and role model of leadership for others, but I also want to learn how to really listen and guide others to do the same on a powerful level. And that's what brought me into this work, was that was what I felt was my calling, is that I wanted to be not just making an income like I was in construction, but I wanted to be a part of something greater than myself. I wanted to be of service and impact for others. And that's what brought me into this work for myself, was that awareness of having a much more acute understanding and connection to my vision for myself. And this leadership course that we have coming up next month is really all these principles of leading from within ourselves first, and then being able to lead and listen with others, and how to do that effectively and with compassion and empathy for ourselves and others. And rather than thinking about, this is like, I should be doing this, or I should be further along my path, realizing like where I'm at is exactly where I need to be. And then bringing in the concept of how can nature show up with me and teach me and guide me in this greater understanding of myself. Because I know for a fact, doing that Knowles course, being out in nature for 3 weeks straight and being, away from distractions, away from, technology, all those things, I was able to drop into that deep centered knowing. And I'm curious for you guys, even just a quick raise of your hand, or just even type yes in the chat, but when you spend time in nature, do you notice that something about you changes? Yeah. Like almost like it could be, just a few minutes or, a few hours, but there's something about when we get out to nature, something inside of us starts to wake up. And I'm sure that you guys can completely resonate with that. And the thing is that nature has what we call a baseline. And what we mean by baseline is, you could think of the words like frequency or energy or vibration, that is very different than the ecosystems that we've created in, modern day human society. That's just the things called, cities, living in city life. Like I live in Arvada, but just down the road from me is, Denver. And if I go into downtown Denver, the baseline or energy and frequency of downtown Denver is very different than if I just go a few miles in the other direction west into the Rocky Mountains and into nature. And nature has a very much more calming and peaceful baseline. there's not as much sound, movement, and energy going on in nature. And the thing is that as human beings, our ancestors, everything about our physiology and nervous system in our minds is a byproduct of nature. And so we're not meant to be in this like high go, 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 do. Like if I was be like in downtown Denver, like a lot of movement, energy going on, like we're not designed to be in that constantly. And so many of us are living in that, mildly stress state of, constantly moving, going, and what's next, and never really being fully in the present moment, in the here and now. And that's why, being in nature is like, you notice something, because a lot of us live in the city. We adapt to that. We get used to it, and we go back into nature, and it's like almost like the epigenetic ancestral parts of us start to wake up again. I'm like, oh, like this is what it feels like when the mind starts to slow down. Like all of a sudden, I'm not thinking about my to-do list, and I'm just in the present moment. And when we're able to be in the present moment, that's when we can start to have clarity, and we almost, allow space for that understanding of what are the answers to my most powerful and deepest questions for myself, such as, what is my vision for my life? So many people want to ask or have that question, like, what's my purpose? What's my calling? What am I like? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? And the thing is that we can't answer those powerful questions from a highly activated state. And we need to go back into that nature connected way of being, of slowing down, to almost allow that pool of water to settle so we can see through it clearly to find those answers within us. Because one thing about, leadership and living a life of vision is that the answers to your most powerful questions for your life lie within you. And it's about learning how to listen to yourself to find those answers. Okay, so that was a kind of a long ramble there about myself and getting into a little bit of the leadership course. I just want to quickly pause before I transition here. Chandler, I see that you posted a question earlier, more specifically the leadership course, or just reading. Yes, and that's actually what I'm going to be getting into here, is specifics about the leadership course, some resources that we have on the website here that I'll be sharing here momentarily. But I also want to open up, are there any other questions before I kind of dive into my next piece? Go ahead, Lauren.
Hey, Daniel. So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist and an ecotherapist. And I'm wondering, I'd like to know, and I don't know if you'll get to this, but that what you see as the difference between what you're talking about, nature-based coaching or nature-based leadership, and ecotherapy.
Yeah. And one of the biggest things, and it kind of depends, because ecotherapy and how you do it could be, specific and relative to you. But with coaching, we're very much focused on where are you going? What are you creating? And what are you moving towards in your life, and your vision for your future, and using that future self that you're choosing to become and defining that, how can that start to not redirect, how can that change your relationship with your past? Because so many of us are living through the lens of what's happened in our past and how that influences our future, rather than thinking about how can I really define my future and my vision and have that influence what I'm doing in the present moment and how I relate with the parts of my past that may be still impacting me today. And so that's, what we're doing here in the leadership course is creating vision and creating deep listening skills is what really is at the core of this program and this course. And so I don't know if that's something you do in your ecotherapy, but that's what we do here in the leadership course. And if that's where they could be, very much the same thing. I'm assuming, I thought that I see a thumbs up, like you're like, yes, that's what I do, because that's awesome. That's what we need, people doing this kind of work. So it's awesome to hear that this is what you do. And so one of the greatest principles that we focus on in our leadership course and in nature connected coaching as well is one of my favorite quotes from a man named Viktor Frankl. And have you guys heard of Viktor Frankl before? Yeah, you have. Yeah, he's a well-known author and Holocaust survivor. And one of his greatest awarenesses from experiencing and surviving that atrocity was this quote here. And he says, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. And that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and freedom." And what he's really saying here is, rather than reacting to what's going on in the world today, reacting to our environment, because like I'm sure as you guys are aware, like there is a lot of doubt, fear, that like a lot of that going on in the world and what we see in the news going on today, and a lot of unhealthy reactions to people's personal experiences coming out in very not ideal ways. And even just like going through the pandemic as well, being kind of isolated, a lot of people have lost that connection with each other and communication and reacting to that. And so in this leadership course, we really want to teach the principles and not just talk about these principles, but experientially learn how to practice these for yourself. But how can I choose how I respond to the world, to my environment, rather than my environment dictating how I react? Because that's where leadership begins. It begins by consciously choosing, who am I choosing to become, and how am I choosing to engage with the world, and how can I bring in nature to be that teacher and container for embodying that way of being for myself. And 3 of the kind of threats to becoming a nature connected leader that so many of us experience is, the first one being that so many of us live without a clear vision for our future. A lot of us are just thinking about our day or our week, or kind of thinking short-term goals, and we're never thinking big picture for ourselves. What do I want 1 year from now? What do I want to create 5 years from now, 20 years from now? And really having a clear vision of, who do I want to become and what do I want to create in my life? And the thing is that our minds aren't hardwired for that either. Like a lot of us are, we're constantly distracted, and we're trying to think about like, maybe like, hey, I want to have this, or I need to have this job just so I can pay the bills so I'm not homeless, and just thinking like just having our basic needs met and surviving and protecting ourselves. And that's the thing, is that the mind is hardwired, from our ancestors. It's not hardwired to think big picture. Like for, generations, our ancestors were, just trying to get through the day. They were, finding food and foraging. They weren't trying to think about, what are these, great philosophical questions for myself. It was more like, how can I survive? But in today's day and age, where we have all of those basic needs met, we really have the opportunity here to start to train our minds to start to create vision on a deeper and powerful level. And that's what we cover in this course, is starting to train the mind and creating a clear vision for our future. Because so many people, if you ask someone on the street, what do you want in your life? Most people have no idea. But if you ask that same person, what do you not want in your life? They can probably give you a laundry list of things they don't want. That's the thing, is so many of us are focused on what we don't want. We never truly learn how to practice a skill of, what do I want? What am I moving towards? What am I growing and evolving into for myself? And then another big challenge that we have going on today is that we live to please others. Like I said, working construction wasn't a bad thing, but it was more of, I did that and, got a college degree in construction because I thought that's what I should do, or what I was supposed to do based on what other people told me. And it's not that I hated it, but I realized that I really want to live a life where I'm not living to please others, but I'm really living to be in my authentic, honest expression for myself. And that's where the greatest gifts that I have to give the world are going to come from. And so letting go of that need to, put on a mask, so to speak, for other people, or, try to show up a certain way so that people like us. And by doing that, really suffocating and stagnating our full wholeness and the gifts we have as human beings. And so starting to let go of the need for that. And that's kind of goes back to another bit of, generational, like ancestral hardwiring for us, because, back in, even just, a century plus ago for our ancestors, being in tribes, like if we were exiled from the tribe, that meant almost certain death for us. And like being a part of the tribe and being accepted was extremely important because it meant our survival. And so many times today, that's turned into, unhealthy lifestyles and living that life of leadership, because we think like, oh, I got to please others, because if they don't like me, then I'm not going to be okay. I'm not going to be safe. But rather starting to redirect that belief and story into a place of like, how can I be okay expressing myself honestly, no matter what they do, and how they respond is up to them, and it's not in my control. So we dive into, transforming that need to please others. And then another big threat to living a life of leadership is living without truly listening. Like, I'm sure you guys can, raise your hand again here and say like, how many times, or like how often, you're talking or communicating with somebody, you can tell that they're just, listening to respond rather than listening to understand you. Keith's like, I got two hands up for that one. And that's the thing, is so many of us were never, taught how to truly, hold space and listen for ourselves and listen with others without judgment or criticism or, our subjective opinion, but really just listening, like we do in nature, with more objectivity of letting go of the ego and just, allowing what's being shared to be shared and holding that space, because that's where growth and true connection can happen. And that's what we dive into here in the leadership program. It's probably one of the core principles that we cover here at EBI is, deep listening skills, deep leadership skills. That's what we focus on here. And because you need to have both to be fully whole as a human being. You can't just, be a leader without being able to listen. You can't just listen without being able to integrate and embody that as a leader for yourself. So those are some of the principles that we focus on in this program, and bringing in some powerful nature connection and nature awareness practices to allow you to start to experience these principles, in the here and now, and not just talking about them, but experiencing them, somatically in the body, because that's how we truly learn. And here at EBI, like I said, I don't want to be talking this whole time. Like, I want you guys to engage, because I know that, communication, engagement is how we all learn the best. And so we really hold that principle that everything that we offer as a course here at EBI is not to teach you to do things, it's teaching how to be. And I'd say one of the, like a fourth kind of threat to living a life of leadership that I would say is kind of ingrained into society. And a lot of it's because of things like marketing and trying to sell things. But, we see so much in things like advertising, like you got to have this thing, you got to have the new version of this phone in order to look cool, in order to feel a certain way, or you got to get the new car so you can go on those adventures to really feel free again. And like, you got to get these things outside of you in order to feel a certain way inside of you. And it's almost like, you may have heard the concept, doing things to feel a certain, to get certain things to feel a certain way. Like, we got to get that, we got to have that career to make that money, to go on those vacations, to feel at peace. What's really true is the polar opposite of that for ourselves. In order to really feel whole, complete, happy, living a life of vision is, what is that feeling or way of being I need to embody now? And then doing action and taking action from that way of being so they can have the experiences that I want to have in my life. So, the old paradigm being doing, being, having. The new paradigm that we focus on is being, doing, having, and learning how to be and rely on that way of being inside of us, first, without relying on things outside of us to feel that way, and bringing nature back into that of, when we're in nature, we so many times feel at peace, and when we're feeling at peace, we're not needing anything, we're not lacking. There's not something else we need in life. Like everything is just is good. And that's what we need to start to become, especially in today's day and age where so many people are like, I got to have all these things, like, and accrue a ton of debt in order to accumulate all these things to fill that hole inside of themselves, only to find out that that hole never gets filled, because the whole way of going about it isn't about getting things to fill that hole, but rather, how can I start to listen to myself and start to create that new root system of listening, understanding, and vision, so that I choose how I show up in the world. I choose how I respond. Okay, I want to pause again, because I just talked a whole bunch there. I just want to open it up to, I'll stop sharing my screen here. And you guys can put in the chat here as well, any kind of questions about what I just shared there briefly, or even if you want to unmute yourself, go ahead and unmute and fire away. And I also want to make, sorry, Lauren, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to hear a little bit more about the curriculum for your course. That's what you do, where you do it, whether it's online, how long it is, how much it costs. That's what I'm really interested in hearing a little bit about.
Definitely. Okay.
I actually go in just a couple minutes, so that's kind of
yeah. And if you do have to go and I cover something, remember, this is also recorded, so you can watch this again on your own time, and I'll be sending the recording as well if for some reason I don't get to everything while you're able to be on here with me. But I'm gonna share my screen again and start to go to the leadership course here. And this is for our Nature Connected Leadership course starting July 28th next month. And this leadership course has 3 levels that we're covering. And each level is 7 weeks long. And as you can see here, every gathering we have, it's 2 hours long on Thursday evenings from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And for the first 2 levels, we'll be meeting on a weekly basis. And on the 3rd level, we'll be meeting every other Thursday and be a little bit more spread out. And these meetings will be online, just like on Zoom, like we're doing right now. They'll be just like this. They'll be recorded as well. So if you're unable to make one of our gatherings, or you're only able to make part of it, it'll be recorded so you can keep watching it or watch it again on your own time. And we always encourage our students to re-watch the recordings multiple times, because we cover a lot of powerful concepts, and sometimes you might catch 1 or 2 things in the live webinar, and then you watch again, you're like, oh, it's caught like 1 or 2 more new things I didn't catch the first time. And so going through it a few times, we always recommend that. And the recordings you'll have for as long as you want. They don't go away. They're not like expire after a certain amount of time. You're going to always have them. And so the first level goes from July 28th to September 8th. And then we take a little bit of a break. And then from October 6th to November 17th, we'll be doing level 2. And then level 3 starts in December 8th and goes to March of next year. And The first level, if you want to get just the first level with us, which I would say really covers what we call intrapersonal leadership skills. And intrapersonal being like, how can I start to create a vision for my life? How can I start to create goals and action plans around that vision, and bring in some nature awareness and connection skills to start to create a growth mindset around your vision, rather than what we call, a fixed or rigid mindset around that. And then the second level is getting more into interpersonal leadership skills, where you start to learn those, or take that, embodying leadership for yourself and embodying vision and listening skills on a deep level for yourself, and then starting to apply that with others, family members, loved ones, friends, coworkers. But how can you start to really listen and lead others through that embodiment for yourself? That's what we dive into level 2, is starting to be a leader for other people. And then the third one is what we start to dive into, is what we call creating your unique vision project. And the folks that sign up for that third level are the ones that want to create an idea or part of your vision that's not like, maybe there's nothing more than an idea for you, and create it into something, create a project of impact and service for your community or the world. And that's what we really focus on, and bringing in those first 2 levels into a unique vision you have for yourself. And you get personal one-on-one coaching with us as well in that third level, to really step into your unknown, into that what we call a threshold experience for yourself, and bringing nature into that vision for yourself as well, so that you have something to share and bring to others. And the whole intention with this this leadership course is that you're going to be creating a whole new trajectory for your life. And you're going to be, maybe you've been on one path your whole life. And what we're going to do here is start to really, get into what we call, a nature connected, soul directed path of leadership. And so this is our 3 levels here. And then you can take a look at the curriculum on this here as well. And you can see we have the dates and times for each level, the objectives, such as for this first one is, understand the mindset and skill set of leadership, formulate daily practices around that mindset, community connections as well, which is another thing I want to share, is that a major part of the power of this leadership course is that you're going to be collaborating with like-hearted and like-minded people that are on the same journey as you, but in their own unique way. And one of the big parts of doing this is, rather than having a vision by yourself and walking alone on this, you're going to have a small group as well as the whole group really supporting, encouraging, and holding space for you as you lean into your unknown, as you lean into leadership. And so that's what is, a powerful piece, is that, getting together into a community. Like, we're meant to be in community together. And so that's what we create here, is a cohesive community of learning, growth, empowerment, and encouragement. And so, yeah, you can kind of see the outline here, like what we cover for each session. Like I said, there's 7 sessions over 7 weeks for the first level with us. And then you can get into the second level, which we describe where the need for your leadership is in the world, and identify your focus point of how you want to be a leader for others. Anchoring in that clear vision for how and why, really defining your why, for why you need and must step into this role for yourself, because they say the greater the why, the greater you can bear any how. And when you have a strong why and motivation and inspiration for your vision, you're going to figure out how to make it happen. You're going to figure out what the next steps are for yourself. And we really help to empower you to define your why, and creating a solid plan and action steps so you know what you need to do next. And then supportive connection and strengthening through our community, and really anchoring in commitment for yourself, and not just talking about these things or creating ideas and action plans, but really what we call putting in the dirt time, quote unquote dirt time, of, going out there and, taking action, making mistakes, learning from those and getting better each time. And rather than like, oh, I tried that thing, it didn't work out, I'm going to give up, start to see like, okay, how can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? So this is, this kind of covers the whole outline here for our program. And if you sign up for all 3 with us, you'll get a $250 discount from then if you were to sign up for all 3 individually. So there we have a bit of a discount going on for there as well. You can look at our curriculum. We have some more details on here about what we're covering and why in this program, such as boosting your effectiveness, creating accountability through community, how to really, that experiential learning, like I said, and not just teaching you guys things, but we're going to have you involved in practicing during these webinars together. And it's really going to be organic in that way, where we have curriculum to teach you, but you're also going to like be able to show up with your wholeness to put this practice into action right away. And then we also offer one-on-one coaching with this program. And so this is this link here, which I'll be sending to you guys. Actually, I'll put it in the chat here so you guys can see right away, but I'll be sending this in a follow-up email as well. Oh, I see Lila. Who is the teacher? And I'm not sure, Lila. Okay, Lila, you're still here. The teachers are right here. It's me and Michael. Michael is the founder of Earth-Based Institute, and one of my, he was my personal mentor and coach as I was a student in the coaching program, and now I have the honor of, working side by side with him, and we're the 2 that teach this course. And so this course is really a combination of both of our skill sets and learning points in this leadership course that have come together. And we're both very passionate about everything we teach. Everything we teach in this leadership course, we embody for ourselves. We don't just read these things in a book and regurgitate them to you guys. These are things we practice, and we want to like have that be involved in what we teach. So yeah, we're the instructors. I'm one of them. So if you sign up, you'll get a lot of quality time with me. And okay, thanks, Lila. And so that's the curriculum here. And any questions?
I'm always interested in readings. Are there readings that we're doing?
Yes. Let me see here. They are where. Give me 1 second here just to find where we have those.
I think it says a little something about your philosophy too, to just know what you think we should be reading while we're.
Yeah. This is one of those awesome moments where it's like, I know we have a list. And as I'm trying to think about where that list is right now, I'm like, I don't know. I might have to, Chambers, I might need to put that in a follow-up email.
That's fine. Can you think of any off the top of your head? Just
yes. Actually, what I'll do is I have some books behind me. I'll share. So this is one of our main books that we use in the coaching program and the leadership program is Coyote's Guide to Connecting with Nature. And it's written by the main author is this guy, John Young, with Jon. And John Young is one of Michael's direct mentors and has been for several decades. And so like a lot of the principles that are covered in Coyote's Guide is what we cover in our courses in our coaching program as well. And Taryn, I see you have your hand up, so I want to let you unmute and share if you like. And I'll get some more books really quick too. Go ahead, Taryn.
I was curious, I'm not sure if I missed it, but just sort of the difference between this and the certification. So this online leadership course that you're talking about versus the nature connected coaching, just
Yeah.
what sort of the outcomes, how are they different?
Yeah, so this leadership course, it was originally called Introduction to Nature Connected Coaching. And the whole intention was that with we have a 12-month nature connected coaching certification program that's certified by the International Coaching Federation. So we really take the competencies of coaching that they focus on and bring in nature with that. And so that program really teaches and trains students to create a coaching ceremony with clients in nature and with an individual client or a group of people, and how to do that effectively and create a transformational experience in nature with people around their goals and vision. And this leadership course is like an introduction into that, because living a life of leadership, having a clear vision, being able to deeply listen to ourselves, these are core skills that a nature connected coach has. And in order to be a powerful coach, you got to practice what you preach. You can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna read these books, do these seminars, and I'm a coach. Now, like, you got to practice, transforming your personal life so that you can really effectively guide others to do the same. And so this leadership course is like our, a kind of like a introduction into embodying that way of being and these skills, and doing that first so that you're able to guide others to the same. And that's what our coaches do. And our coaches, when they go through the program, they are constantly being held space to how are you growing and defining your vision for your life. What are you creating and building, and really what are the action steps you're taking? Because if you're going to show others to do the same, you got to know how to do it yourself. And so this leadership course, like learning how to do these skills yourself so that you can effectively be a role model and guide others, which we focus more on in the coaching program, is that guiding, really how to guide others and ask those powerful questions and really hear what's underneath the story for them around their issue to create transformation and change from the inside out. So that's kind of a nutshell of what the difference is. And a lot of our, or a good amount of our coaching students in the past did the leadership program and then signed up for the coaching certification program afterwards. And if that's something of interest to you, one other thing is that the tuition for this leadership course, if you want to do the coaching program afterwards, the tuition for the leadership course will be taken out of your tuition for the coaching program. So that's kind of like I could go into more detail, but that's kind of like a brief idea of like what this leadership course is more about, like personal development first, so that then you can be a role model for others. In the coaching program, really diving into that personal development, role model, and then coaching, guiding others on a powerful way to really effectively create growth, vision, transformation for themselves. Chambliss, another great one, The Tracker by Tom Brown.
Mhm.
And Tom Brown has a bunch of great books out there. You might have heard of him before. And he's another direct mentor of Michael's for several decades. And a lot of our teachings come from Tom Brown. So that's another one. And then another one that I think about as well, and I think I have it on my Kindle, but have you heard of Joe Dispenza? Joe Dispenza. He's got several books out. One of them called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And I'd say that's another great book and resource that has been of major influence for us in what we teach here as well. And then obviously, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. That's another great one. But I'm sure you guys, you've heard of him. So those are a few, and then I'll send an email with a few more out there as well. And I see we're almost at the hour, and I had this intention of doing a little exercise with you guys, and I didn't give myself enough time to do it. And I take total ownership for that. but I want to share it with you no matter what though. So I think what I'm going to do here is rather than kind of going through a bit of a nature awareness exercise, I'm going to kind of explain it and invite you guys to do it on your own time. So let me share my screen here again. So here's a little nature connection practice that I want to share with you and invite you all to do. And just like I shared earlier, that the nature has its own unique baseline and frequency. And so what I invite you to do is to go out when you can for 20, 30 minutes, an hour if you can, but go into the nearby open space or park, or even your backyard if you have one and you can, but somewhere where you can kind of be out in nature, in the elements, and just spend some time noticing and being aware of the baseline of nature. And when you are in that kind of connected space for yourself or state, ask yourself this question: what am I feeling? Not how am I feeling? So we ask ourselves, how am I feeling? We always have that canned response, oh, I'm good, or great, like we have that automatic response, but rather, what am I feeling? Sensations in the body. What is it? Maybe even like being aware of the emotion. Am I feeling at peace? Am I frustrated? Am I worried right now? Am I joyful? But just what am I feeling? And not judging the feeling, but just being aware of it. And asking yourself that question a few times, what am I feeling? And let yourself kind of get into the body. And if you're like, oh man, I'm kind of like tense in the shoulders, just maybe allow some space and let that tension go in the shoulders. But just allowing yourself to really drop into yourself and being aware of how you occur to yourself. And when you do that a few times and you kind of become aware of, oh, this is what's going on for me, this is what I'm feeling in this moment, then ask yourself, what is this teaching me? Like if I'm feeling joyful right now, what's that teaching me? Oh, well, maybe it's teaching me that when I'm focused and like allow myself to drop in for a few minutes, all of a sudden, like life is good, and that I need to do this more often. And if it's maybe I'm really anxious right now, well, what's that teaching me? Maybe it's like I'm really focused on the future, and I'm thinking about this, presentation I have to do at work tomorrow that I'm really concerned about. Okay, great. Well, what does that mean for me? And start to think about, well, if I'm feeling, that, for example, that joy, and I need to spend more time in nature and dropping into the present moment. Well, that means for me that this is something I need to practice more often and make into a daily habit for myself. And then lastly, what is nature showing me? And start to see because nature is always communicating to us. It's always showing us things. And we got to learn to listen to nature. And so bring these 4 questions to yourself out into nature somewhere. And, I'd even invite you to bring a journal with you if you can, and write down what you notice when you ask yourself these questions. And this is a foundational nature awareness and connection practice that I do constantly. And we have our coaching students do constantly. And in the leadership course, it's starting to direct the mind through powerful questions to find powerful answers. So I'm going to just invite you guys to practice that. And I'd love to hear, shoot me a text or an email, like what you notice when you do this practice. And I wish I had more time to have us do it together, but unfortunately I did not manage my time well enough to this morning. And then lastly, if you register for our leadership course before this Sunday, the 19th, you'll get a $50 discount. And I'll be sending we have a registration code, and I'll be sending that in the follow-up email. So over the next few days, if you sign up, you'll get a nice little discount for our leadership program. And then I just also want to quickly share for our Nature Connected Coaching program that our next cohort is starting in October online with us, and registration for that cohort closes September 15th. And also to be aware that we're raising our tuition for the coaching program starting October 1st. So if you're really curious and interested about signing up for our coaching program, be aware that October 1st, and even if we get you registered before October 1st for like one of our 2023 cohorts, you'll still get in at that lower tuition rate. And if you submit your NCC application or your coaching application before the Sunday as well, we'll give you also $100 discount for that. And actually, I want to keep sharing. And this is the link for our application for the coaching program. It doesn't cost anything to submit it. It takes about half an hour to fill out. And I'll put the link for that in the chat here. And all these resources I'll be sending in an email follow-up to you guys. And so keep your eye out for that. I'll also be sending this recording, but and I know we're right at the hour here, so I just want to, pause myself here. I just want to open up for any last questions before we complete this gathering. All feeling good here? Thumbs up. Right on. Well, I just want to say thank you guys for showing up here and joining me for this hour. And I hope this is helpful. And feel free to text, call, email me if you have any further questions. I'm here to listen, answer questions, be of support. So thank you guys for showing up. And it was wonderful to engage with you guys. And Chambliss, I'll be sending them more of those resources. Don't you worry.
Love them. Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.